So here's a memory of Maeve in full flight, replayed on last Tuesday's Today programme. Whatever you're doing right now, take 5 minutes to listen and enjoy Maeve telling this story of her days as women's editor of the Irish Times.
Can I tell you my story about Theodora? Theodora used to write her articles immaculately typed. I cannot tell you. Theodora had a terribly posh voice that would cut through steel. And Theodora thought that I knew all about cookery because I was the boss of the women's page. And I used to say, that's very good, very nice, that piece about marmalade oranges, pretty good, very nice. Very nice. I was just so glad to have the thing in the right length, tidy. And sometimes Theodora's husband, George Morrison, who was a filmmaker and took lovely pictures, would take a picture. Now, I can't remember in the Irish Times if we ever paid him for any of these pictures, but it was always lovely when he did take a picture. So anyway, one day I was dying to get home. My father was at home alone, and I wanted to go home and to be with him, and it was taking forever the day. And I thought, well, I know now, maybe it was a cookery page, it won't be too long because Theodora's done all this. I hope George had sent a picture. George had not sent a picture. So I was unreasonably annoyed with George. And it was veal recipes, and there was all these things, veal marsala and veal Holstein and the veal casserole and all these things. So I looked at it, there was never a mistake. What was I looking at? There was never a mistake in Theodora's writing. It was perfect. And I thought, I've got to find a picture to go with it. But I didn't have any picture because I hadn't sent one out in time. It was my fault. So I had to find something that was about that shape. I found something that was that shape in my file of emergency pictures, which I always kept. And what I found in there was a casserole with lots of knives and forks sticking out of it. So I took that and I said, underneath it I typed, tasty veal casserole, excellent for a winter evening. And I went home on the train to Dalkey, and I went home, and my father and myself were sitting down, we had our tea, and then we were looking at the 9 o'clock news, and the second item on the 9 o'clock news froze my blood to terror. The second item on the news was Dr. Christian Barnard was coming out of the Groote Schuur Hospital in South Africa, and it said, Dr. Barnard after his second heart transplant operation. And I said, that's where I saw that picture before. What I thought were knives and forks, were clamps and forceps, and they holding the heart open. So this was an unfortunate happening, and I kept saying, oh my God. And I said to my father what had happened, and because he was a lawyer, he said, admit nothing. Admit nothing. So I said, yes, I know, I have to admit something, Daddy. And we had no car, so I started to run from Dalkey into D'Lear Street. Now, before I started, I rang Mr. Gageby, who was the editor. I said, Mr. Gageby, and to ring Mr. Gageby at 9:10 at night, really the Third World War should be starting before that. And I said, Mr. Gageby, it's me. Yes, what is it? And I said, Mr. Gageby, I'm afraid we're going to have to hold the cookery page. I beg your pardon, I said, it's not a veal casserole, it's a heart operation. It's open heart surgery. And I could hear him ask for the page to be brought to him. And he said, this is bad, he said. This is very bad. The only newspaper in the world to be prosecuted for cannibalism. So I said, this is the end. My career is over. Run. I ran down the hill of Knocknacree Road where we lived. I ran, hoping there was going to be a train. The trains are few and far between those. Maybe I should run to the bus. And there was a man passing, and I stopped the car. And I told him what had happened. And I said, are you going anywhere near D'Lear Street? He said, I am now. He came up in the lift with me, and everybody on the whole floor, it was now 10 o'clock, and everybody was there, and I could all hear the bloody woman was all I could hear, that bloody woman. And I'm here, Mr. Gageby, I'm here. I said, what am I going to do? So anyway, the awful thing, the thing you dread most, and the lawyers were around the page, and people in suits, and they're all standing around my desk, and they're opening drawers and things, private drawers of mine, and finding little miniatures of gin, and, all kinds of things that they shouldn't have been finding at all. Terrible things. And they were in there, and I was, and Mr. Gageby now, it was a terrible tick in his forehead, and he said, you have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to find a picture. There's no time to make it bigger or smaller than the rest of it. Get into what you laughingly call your files and find something better than that. And there seem to be a semicircle. There seem to be as many people as there are in this room around me. And I finally found the only picture that was the same size, which was an advertisement, I think, for Wedgwood. You know, Wedgwood would send you the odd free picture for an advertisement. It was a Wedgwood egg cup, anyway, with an egg in it. And I typed underneath it, why be content with a boiled egg?